Hey, welcome back. All right, today we're doing the second part in this little mini series here. I'm just going to show how we can implement some new features into our revolver. As of last time, we made a gun that can shoot at the target. It's controlled by the gyro aiming, and when the target runs out of health, it regenerates its health over time, like that. And yeah, so in this one, let's go ahead and add some new features to the gun itself. So we have this fire gun chip, and one thing that's nice to do is to make your chips bigger and give yourself lots of space to work with, because we can always clean up as we go along, and it's easier if you have more space to work with to help visualize things, and that helps you keep things neat in the meantime. So we have this fire gun logic, which shoots a bullet through the emitter, plays a sound, and we have this output called fired. So in order to have any sort of reloading, we're also going to need to have a magazine, if you will, or a limited number of bullets, right? So let's get out a microchip here, and we'll go ahead and we'll give this little icon here, and this will be for the display of how many bullets we have. And we'll get another one out, and this will be for the magazine itself. So I'll label this magazine. Now, I know a revolver doesn't really have a magazine. It has a chamber, but, or, you know, the spiral thing with the 6 things in it. I don't know what it's called. I'm not really a gun person. Okay, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so let's get out a counter here, and so this is going to basically act as our magazine, right? So I think a revolver has 6 bullets in it normally, so we will give it a target value of 6, and we'll fill it, right? And so this will be our magazine, and every time we shoot, we'll remove 1 from here, and every time we reload, we'll end up adding bullets back to the max, right? And so the counter is really nice for this because it has these convenient functions. It has an increase count, a decrease count. It has the counter full output. It has the current count and the target. So that's great. So obviously we're going to end up firing things, and we're going to end up reloading. So the reload will go in here, and the firing will go in there. So every time we fire our gun, we will do that, right? And so we can actually bring the magazine display in here. And so inside here, we'll just get out a couple of displayers. So I'll have 2 number displayers and a text displayer. And so the text displayer will just have this little slash, and the number displayers will just show the counts. So in here we'll have the this is the target value, meaning our full magazine capacity, and this is the current count, meaning how many bullets we currently have in the chamber or in the gun, whatever you want to call it. And we'll go ahead and make these look a little bit better. I'll probably just speed up time here. Okay, so there we have the little display, and if we were to go in here now, since we wired up the shoot, every time you shoot, it'll go down, right? And so obviously once we're at 0, we don't want to be able to fire anymore, so we'll have to have a couple of outputs from this chip as well. So we'll have one for when our magazine is full, and we'll have another one for when our magazine is empty. Now we could use the count progress and put a not gate on it, but just to make things super clear, I'll take the current count, and if that's ever equal to 0, then this will be a true output. And so these things are really good to label. So let's go ahead and label these now. So we have these nice inputs and outputs here. So when the mag is empty, we don't want to be able to fire the gun, right? So one thing we could do is, if this is ever not true, we could use like a not gate, for example, and turn that off, right? So this way, when we run out of bullets, pressing R2 doesn't do anything anymore. You can still pull a trigger on a gun that doesn't have bullets and it'll still make a sound, so let's find a sound for that. Okay, I found this dry fire sound, which is made by Media Molecule. I think that will make a nice sound for when we're out of bullets but we still press the trigger. So I think what we'll do here is let's get out. Let me get out of the sound thing. We'll get out this AND gate, right? So if we ever fire a bullet, which is this signal, and we're empty on bullets, then we'll use this dry fire sound. So when the mag is not empty, then we can power on the fire gun chip. So now we can see that we can shoot all 6 bullets, and then when we're out of bullets, it just plays this dry fire sound, signaling that we need to reload our gun. So let's go ahead and see, now's a good time to try and clean things up a little bit, so this way we can keep things nice and organized. So I'll just clean these chips up a little bit. When it comes to cleaning wires, I like to do a 90-degree angles on these wires for anything that goes backwards, and then anything that goes forwards that needs to be cleaned, I just try and do like a little angled thing here, right? So this we can see. There we go. Okay, so that looks better. All right, so now we need to be able to reload our gun, right? So let's get out a new microchip, and this will be for reloading. So I'll label this reload. And this will obviously take in another controller input, so we'll get a node out for that. And it's commonly square in most video games, so I'll put it on square just because I like it. Alright, so inside of here we're gonna need to do some things, right? We want to be able to add bullets back into our magazine, which we have a nice input for adding bullets, and also we're going to want to play some sounds. So obviously we'll have a output for adding a bullet, and so this will go from here into add bullet. And I've already made a reload sound thing here. This may look a little complicated, but it's not. So here's this little spin chamber sound, which is nice. That was made by Media Molecule. And then this is like a bullet going into a gun, and I've just put 6 of them in here. And I also found this sound made by somebody else, and these are just a sound of like a shell casing hitting the floor. And so if I play this, I just kind of randomly put them around. There's up to 6 of them. So all in all, it sounds like this. Okay, so it spins the little thing, the bullets fall all over the ground, it loads all 6 of them in, and then you spin the chamber again. Now, I've put NOT gates here. Each of these are underneath one of these sounds. And so what a NOT gate inside of a timeline does is it always has a true signal, right? So you can see here in a timeline, if we get a NOT gate out, the NOT gate will be true because nothing is going into it, right? So a NOT gate is true when whatever's coming in is not true, and since nothing's being plugged in, when the timeline is on the NOT gate, it is on, right? So that's what I did there. So I'm going to use all 6 of these NOT gates, and we will plug them into this add bullet. So if you hold L1 while pressing X, you can keep the wire on, and that way you can do that really fast. So every time one of these sounds plays, a NOT gate will go into this, which will add a bullet back to our magazine, right? And so we'll take this input, which is the reload button, and we'll make sure this is set to play once. And yeah, so as of right now, how this would work is we could shoot our gun, and we're out of bullets, so we can press square, and you can see the count is going up, and it plays all the sounds, and we're ready to fire again, right? Now obviously there are a couple things we need to fix here really quick. If I only shoot 2 and then press, you can hear that we're loading 6 bullets, which doesn't make any sense. And if I shoot in the middle of this, it continues playing the reload sound while we're shooting. That doesn't make any sense either. So we're going to need to add the ability to cancel a reload. So this I'll label cancel reload. And this I'll label reload. And this I'll label add bullet to mag. If we ever hit the cancel reload button, we can restart the timeline. Let's see if this works, just like that. Oh, we're going to need to wire something to cancel reload. Let's just put we'll put fire on cancel reload, and let's see what happens. If we start the reload and then press fire, no, that doesn't work. Okay. How we can deal with this is actually a pretty simple way to deal with this. Let's get a counter out, and we'll leave it as a default counter, meaning the target value is 1 and the current count when it starts is 0, and we'll get rid of these. So when we fire the gun, we'll go ahead and add to the counter, which will fill it, and we'll use the counter full to power the timeline. So you can see when we press square, it fills the counter, which powers the timeline. Now, if at any point we cancel, we can reset the counter and also rewind the timeline. And so what this will do is it will stop the timeline from being powered, but it'll also rewind the timeline. So now you can see if we press the reload button and then press fire in the middle, that still isn't working, so let's switch it to sustain. And since this will be a complete signal, it'll only play when this is powered. So now when we press the reload, it starts to reload, and then we fire, and it cancels it, and it brings it back, which is nice because now our counter is at 2, and now we can press square again to finish it, or we can cancel it. Okay, so that looks nice. Now let's get one more node out. Actually, I'll just get a blank one. And this will be for when our mag is full. Okay, so I'll label this mag full. And so the only reason we need this is because if we start, we can just press reload immediately, and that doesn't make any sense because our magazine's already full. So if our magazine is not full, then we'll allow for this reload node to be active, right? And so by default, if our magazine is full, then when we press the reload button, nothing will happen. And so here I'm just moving things over to make some more space for myself, to make things a little easier to see. Okay, so now that we have this set up, the only last thing we need to do is if our mag is ever full, we will put this into the cancel reload. So that will make it so that, let's say we shoot two bullets and then we press the reload button, we'll only hear 2 bullets being added back in, and that's because when the mag is full, it cancels the reload, which turns off the timeline and rewinds it, right? That's really cool. Oh, and we also need to plug mag full into the mag full slot, right? So we could also, instead of double wiring that in, we'll just, if the mag is full, then we can reset the count like that. Right, so now when we play, we can't press square at the beginning, doesn't do anything. And if we play the reload sound, it only fills up back to where we need to be. Okay, so there's our reload functionality. You know, we can clean these things up a little bit better, I think, but that looks fine enough for me for now, and this looks okay too. The only thing here is I will do my little thing here just to keep things nice and consistent. Okay, so there's the reload functionality, and let's say we didn't want to have to reload every time we shot 6 bullets. We can also do a toggle here for infinite ammo, and we can toggle this with, I don't know, triangle button. So in here I'll just get a node, we'll plug the triangle button into the node, and all this is going to do is it will power a keyframe. And so what will the keyframe do? When we have infinite ammo, we don't want to be able to reload, so I'll turn that off. And we never want to play the dry fire sound, so we will turn this off. And let's see. Yeah, so when we fire, it'll never send a signal. Oh, it will. Let's see, we don't ever want the mag empty node on, and we can turn the magazine display off. We'll get out a signal manipulator instead. We'll plug that in there, and we will have this toggle. So I think we can do toggle at on. So now when we press triangle, it'll toggle it on, and if we press it again, it'll toggle it off. Okay, so now when we fire, we can turn it off, and we can continually fire as much as we want, and pressing square doesn't do anything. Then when we come back, we're at 0 bullets because we fired them all. So if we want to preserve that, we can as well. So instead of this turning the mag empty thing on, we'll just turn we'll turn the fire bullet off, and then I think that should be it. Let's see, start time, put it on infinite. Yeah, and this never depletes the ammo from the magazine, so then when we come back we're at 4, and you know, so if we had it at 6 we don't lose any bullets, and when we're back here then we're back to the normal functionality. Okay, so you can see this is pretty easy, really easy to set up, didn't really take that much work. If you enjoyed it, please give me a thumbs up. Let me know what you thought about this. In the next video, I'll show how we can set up a bunch of targets to move around, and we can add we'll add the controls panel that we had at the top left in my demo scene. And then I think that's just about it. We'll add some gradient effects and some sky, and we'll just we'll make it look exactly how it did in that demo scene, and then we'll be done. So subscribe, stick around. I'll see you in the next video.